supply rides at anchor, where the real supply was hove to on January the 26th, 1788. We see the natives gathering in corroboree to ward off the invaders, just as they then did.
Keep the anchoring signal flying, bosun.
Before Captain Phillip lands, Lieutenant Ball takes a boatload of Marines ashore to keep the natives in check. In the face of menacing savages, the white men advance up the shore of the new land.
Especially as there appear to be no women amongst them. Is there any likelihood of an ambush? See that nothing that remains skulking about.
Now Phillip himself lands. So a handful of Englishmen took possession of a continent, a vast, unknown, primeval land.
It is now fitting that we should turn our minds to the purpose underlying this enterprise, which is to plant a fresh sprig of empire in this new and vast land. It may be that this country will become the most valuable acquisition Britain has ever made.
The flag of England is hoisted again where it first flew in Australia, this time watched by thousands of Australian-born citizens of the Empire.
The Black GST is a political statement by the Indigenous people of Australia. What it represents is genocide, sovereignty and treaty.
Genocide to be stopped, sovereignty to be recognised, a treaty to be made.
There are fundamental legal issues in this country that remain unresolved. As far as I'm concerned, there's no more clear-cut case of the act of criminal genocide anywhere in the world. You know the issue of genocide in Germany because it was a brutal extermination process of humans. It was quite clear how that was an act of genocide. And Indigenous people also went through that process.
When this country was invaded, our people were murdered, outright slaughter of Aboriginal men, women and children.
But it's ongoing genocide. There's still no recognition of our law, our sovereignty. There's no treaties. There's no proper laws in this country that recognise our humanity. Until that happens, the issue of genocide is still alive.
I am calling a corroboree of all the natives of New South Wales to send a petition to the King in an endeavour to improve our condition. All the black man wants is representation in federal parliament. There is also plenty of fish in the river for us all, and land to grow all we want. 150 years ago, the Aboriginals owned Australia, and today he demands more than the white man's charity. He wants the right to live.
Sovereignty is basically the rule of law of that land, because it's, the white man claims to have sovereignty. He's a superior authority in this country, and the whole basis of occupation is based on that assumption of superiority. Indigenous people are recognised as having the oldest civilised society on the face of the earth. And this is a sacred land, this country here, and there's a sacred law that goes with it. That needs to be recognised. It's in the interest of all people living here. This is not England, and the law of England shouldn't apply. In fact, probably the worst thing in the environment is the actual white-fella law. It allows for our sites to be destroyed, whereas our law would never allow that to happen. Our law looks after the land, where the white man's law allows for the destruction of the land. They need to come to terms with that historical legal fact of the matter. There's no treaties, there's no documents of consent, there's no documents that you can produce that say that you've got a right to occupy our land or apply your law to our people in particular, or anybody else here. This is the land of Indigenous people, and it always has been, and it always will be.
So I don't know what to say to Middle Australia, but I know that we have something positive to contribute to this country. We're not saying that everybody should go back to where they come from, and the boat people for us came 213 years ago, and they've been coming ever since. And we don't really see any difference between the first wave of migration and the last one. What needs to be addressed in this country is proper protocols where recognition of the sovereign owners of this land is recognised, and that due respect is given to those people, and that understanding can only come about when people walk together, learn together and share together. And instead of raping us and murdering us for this country, let's make friends, let's resolve the differences of the past, and let's get along together as this nation should be. We're not out to be angry or cause trouble or violence. But we have to be able to stand up and say what is wrong, and we have to be able to put forward our resolution to this trauma that we live in.
I don't know what a war means to you, but when a fleet of ships with military and a diseased cargo turns up in your territorial waters and claims land on behalf of their sovereign, that's an act of war and aggression. That's what happened in 1788. Until you've got a treaty, it's an invasion and needs to be sorted out. That's the understanding of international law norms anywhere else in the planet. But there's no treaties in this country. There's no document that you can call yourself a civilised society based on, a legal document that recognises our people and justifies your occupation of our land.
The reconciliation process in itself identified the unfinished business in this country, the issues that needed to be addressed. That was the hard issues. The issues that was identified was customary law, it was sovereignty, it was a treaty, it was recognition for the stolen generations and acknowledgement that that actually did happen, and an apology. To have a legal status defined in this country of who we are.
There's got to be a proper internationally scrutinised treaty process to go down with all of the sovereign black nations in this country. There's something like 500 of them. You might have a prototype treaty, but all those mobs have got their own right to have their own sovereign treaty with people whoever they are, whether they're African, whether they're Queen or somewhere, or if they're on their land, they've got to do the business. They've got to do the proper law business to occupy land. Because we don't want people trudging all over our country, jumping on our graves and defying our sacred sites. And there's laws that go with this land, you need to adhere to them for your own benefit too.
Everyone else here today has brought along their flags of their country. And we're doing exactly the same thing. We're promoting our flag, the flag that we've chosen to follow, and we're displaying that. And there's no harm in doing exactly that. And we're going to sit it out quietly like the rest of them, enjoy the games, but display our flag, and that's what we're doing.
The Stolen Wealth Games is representative of the Commonwealth nations of which Britain controlled, of the rape and murder of Indigenous people across the world in the quest for resources and land. And many of those Indigenous people across the world have experienced the same situation as Indigenous people in this country, the ongoing and continuing genocide of the Indigenous peoples.
So they're trying to white out the history and rewrite it. You know, as generations go on, they forget about what happened in the past. It becomes more and more remote, and they rely on that. The whole world of colonialism relies on forgetting about the past. They don't want to know about it, because this is where their wealth comes from. Stolen. It's a stolen wealth. And our people have had everything stolen, from their children, their land, their wages, their intellectual property, their cultural business. Everything's been stolen. It's not just me saying this, it's been going right back, non-Aboriginal people, and saying that this needs to happen. There needs to be proper business done in this country before we can move forward. And the onus is on the non-Aboriginal people. And, you know, they're subject to the Queen. The Crown is the law here. The Queen of Australia is Queen Elizabeth II. She's your responsible sovereign. She's the one who can make the move. And she's turning up here to open these games. And so we want to hopefully meet her and sort out this business.
If we're looking for a future in this country that's one that we can all be part of, and one that recognises people's rights, and in particular Indigenous people's rights, then I think that people need to stand up and say what needs to be said.
First thing is to make yourself aware of the issues. You know, find out what the issues are about. And, you know, if you've got an issue with the fact that you're living in a country where genocide's not a crime, and the recognition of another people is not relevant, well, you don't really want to get involved, do you, if you don't see those as issues? So if you want to get involved, you'll see that you're offended by the fact that there's genocide occurring here, and you'll be offended by all the other things, all the other crimes that have been committed by Aboriginal people, and you'll stand with us because you'll see yourself as a human being, and you know that Indigenous people are crucial to the well-being of this land. You can't remove the Indigenous people. We are a part of this ecology, and once you remove us, well, you're going to come with us, because we are the spiritual link to the land, and people who understand land rights will support us. You know, it's in your own interests. But people who really haven't understood what the issues are, like I say, we're up against a powerful lobby and propagandists and media in this country. You don't hear our voice. You know, it's only just been in recent times, but, you know, we're coming on strong, and we're not going anywhere, and we're going to sort the business out.